Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, a new vision of horror from the maniacal minds that brought you Curse of Strahd. Explore over 30 domains of dread to terrorize your table, or use the ghastly guide to create your own. Let loose your dark side with all new character subclasses. Unleash fresh nightmares with dozens of malevolent monsters. Pre-order for chilling bonuses and perks. Subscribe to share this twisted content with your table. Face your fears. Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. Pre-order now on the D&D Beyond marketplace. Or else.
If you guys are just joining us, we've got Pat and Andrew back with us on the dev update. And this is the time where we're just going to firing squad you guys and throw a bunch of questions at you. Sound fun?
Yeah, sure.
Melly, kill them dead.
Here we go. We got Reiki BB. While I love the dice, is there no quick or no animation option as a DM if I'm rolling 11 attacks or, Druid who summoned 8 constrictor snakes? It'd be great to speed that up.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take this one because the team that I product manage is responsible for building the dice. This is something that we hear a lot. We hear a lot, and it is something that we are continually thinking about. How do we make this happen? We will talk in a future dev update a little bit more about how dice work, but right now it's sort of difficult. And I'll tell you, without trying to get a little too technical, a lot of dice systems will use a randomly generated number on the back end. They'll use literally just an equation that just randomly develops a number. In fact, you can go on to Roll20. They've got a quantum system that literally uses the variability in an array of light to determine a random number. It gets really complicated. The way we have chosen to determine a random number is very similar to how it works in the physical world, where you have a model, a thing that has bounds, and then you throw it into a box, which is your screen, and then something will come of that, and that number is there. I say all that to say is that to be able to get a random number without rolling the dice, we would have to fundamentally change our system. And the way we generate that random number would change from a physics-based system to something that's a little bit more a random number generator. So we'll talk more about fairness and why we chose to do more of a physics-based system. But at the moment, it's a difficult proposition for us to do because we literally need the 3D model to hit the walls of your screen to determine the number. And that's why it's difficult for us to sort of take that part out of it. Although I do completely realize that, just being able to generate a random number would be a whole lot faster.
Excellent. We got Reikio 407 combat tracker. Where is that at? What is kind of the current plans? Maybe Pat, I feel like this might be something you might have some insight on.
Well, I would love to do this, but so I used to work on that team, and then I moved over to the character sheet team, and Andrew now owns that product. So without further ado, Tom, good sir, back to you.
Yeah,
well, now I'm getting fired.
Yeah, now more at me. Okay, that's fine. What I can say, I can kind of take this one. So it is not lost on us that the combat tracker has remained in alpha for over a year. That it is almost all my fault. When Pat went to the characters team to really take that on and to try to lead that effort, he handed it to me, and I said, "Oh, that's great. But wait a minute, I'm doing a whole bunch of other things," right? So just in any prioritization conversation, it's always like, well, should we build this or should we build this? And at the moment, we don't have capacity to work on the combat tracker. But I will say on camera right now, at some point in the future, that will change.
Melly,
All right, well,
Melly, can I caveat to that one? So
we're vague and honest.
One of the blockers to the combat tracker actually comes from the team I work with right now. So being the character sheet, we have all the character data. One of the big asks for the combat tracker is to have an initiative order that actually has real, no kidding, character data in there. And then that character data is live, right? So if I lose hit points here, it feeds it onto here. So I'm not having to go, oh my goodness, I think I'm just going to kill my character, but I don't know how many hit points he has. So all that information is going to be, not API is not the word, but we have built something that's going to allow Andrew's team to consume data very lean. It doesn't burden our system a lot, and right into there. And that had to be built for him to move forward. So we've built it. And that's where
what
we're
I would
at
say
there,
is,
so it's coming.
what I would say is that we're hesitant to call it beta and really move it forward until we can do two main things. And that is what Pat's talking about with getting character data in there in real time. So you can see hit point changes and things like that, and being able to save that so that way when you come back to it at the start of the next session, it is the exact same. Those two things, it would be ridiculous of us to call this beta or gold if we don't have those two basic functionalities in there. There's a couple other things that we're going to do around that when we do move it to beta. For example, we would love to be able to use the new game log along with Combat Tracker and be able to sort of pull those initiative counts in, so that way when a player rolls for initiative, they don't have to actually just like announce it and then the DM puts it in. You can actually just pull it right from the game log. A few other sort of quality of life things that will go into that, but yeah, that's why it is where it is, and why it's kind of been left on a shelf for so long.
Right on.
Alrighty.
Well, so it's both of your faults. Noted. Melly, I think we've got time for two more.
Two more? Okay, so we got Venti 1SP. They've actually been asking this for a few, so we have the right person on to ask. So I'm going to throw it in now. They've got questions. There's some invocations for warlocks, some other things for artificers. There's lots of characters that have abilities that let you kind of give it to somebody or list characters that, you've associated that power with. Are there any plans for being able to sort of put information in with a feature that might call those things out?
Okay, so Joe keeps talking about the not generic feature system or the feature system. That is the beginning of solving these types of problems. At first, once we get the first pieces of it done, we're going to hand it over to our game content team. That's our internal folks that put the rules in, and they're gonna stuff it full of cool things, and it'll start to populate on your character sheet. And then after that, we'll be able to open up the homebrew piece of that, which will also then open up the customization pieces of that. If we choose to go that way, there's not a big ask for this. So I would say what I will do is grab this as an insight today and ingest it into our system and make sure that it lands with the feature system that we're currently working on.
And note to self, for me, I am not doing a good job of explaining what the feature system is on a weekly basis. So I'm going to step it up there too. I think we've got time for one more, and then we'll close it out, Melly.
All right, sounds good. Well, let's go ahead and throw, there's lots of pretty good questions here, but this one's been asked a few times, so let's go ahead with this one. GK Smith LCW and a few others have asked the ability to assign dice sets to specific characters instead of just overall for the account.
Ooh.
This one's sort of both me and Pat. This is something that we've been wanting since we released the dice set. In fact, I would probably go a little further and say that I would really love it, not just per character, but also per ability. For example, if I cast Fireball, I want to see Fireball dice land. And then if that, a max value is hit, it explodes or something like that. I think that would be amazing. I would love to do that. I think that that's on the radar, and it's something that we want to try to do. There's a lot of meat to chew at this point, and I've literally been trying to prioritize something like that for since we released Dice a long time ago. You've probably heard us talk about it in a few times, but something that we try to do as product managers is release a minimum viable product, meaning like the simplest thing that we can do with the least amount of work to get it out there to start solving some problems. And that was allow somebody to choose a dice set. The next version of that is let's have character specific dice sets. And what I would really love to do is to have such a vast amount of dice that allow you to say like, okay, well, for this character, they're kind of a blood mage. So I'm going to have this sort of blood dice out. Just like Melly was talking about, she loves to customize her character. She likes to choose frames and backgrounds and colors. It would be really cool if she could also choose this dice set for this character.
Oh yeah.
So that
Andrew, you're
really
just
works
talking
together.
to my dice goblin heart. I have a whole wall of dice over here because when I play physically and I use physical dice, I do pick dice for like every different thing my character has. I'm like, this is for this stuff, this is for this stuff. It's very important, and I feel like, you know, you're not gonna survive if you don't have the right dice.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of leads me to one of the reasons why we haven't done it until now. We've been slowly accumulating more and more dice on our system, the ability to collect them through subscriptions, through the marketplace, through pre-orders. There'll be other ways to collect them in the future. We have a good grab bag of them now, but when we first started, we only had one or two. It would have been really weird to have like character specific dice sets when you only have like one or two options.
Is your character red or more blue?
So now that we've got a whole lot more, I think that is something that is definitely something to be considered. So.
Right on.
Love it.
Well, I want to close this out. Druidic 101 says, thank you to the entire D&D Beyond team for everything you do. Thank you guys for the hard work that goes into creating all this digital goodness for the world's best RPG. And I want to make sure that you guys and your teams hear that all the time, right? Again, just watching you guys run the factory and the labs on Slack is awesome. And so, I mean, and speaking of feedback's the theme of the day. I'm trying to listen to your all's feedback too. I know sometimes the dev update just sort of can feel a little more like a little repetitive and a little more generally like, I don't know, here's the book that's coming out, and there's so much we can't talk to you guys about. So to give you guys a little more crunch and a little more behind the scenes, I think we're going to start doing Q&As like this a little more often, just so that you guys can get some FaceTime with the people responsible for making all this happen. So thank you guys so much for coming on. Thank you, Melly, for keeping me on track and keeping me honest and improving the show a lot. And thank you guys so much for spending some time with us. As usual, thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you guys for registering. Thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate you guys being a part of this community. Tune in a little later today with the Black Dice Society. Next week with Taliesin from Critical Role, and the start to the House of Lament. We'll see you guys soon. Take care of each other. Be nice. Bye.
Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, a new vision of horror from the maniacal minds that brought you Curse of Strahd. Explore over 30 domains of dread to terrorize your table, or use the ghastly guide to create your own. Let loose your dark side with all new character subclasses. Unleash fresh nightmares with dozens of malevolent monsters. Pre-order for chilling bonuses and perks. Subscribe to share this twisted content with your table. Face your fears. Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. Pre-order now on the D&D Beyond Marketplace. Or else.